Okay, so we're gonna just go ahead and start the workshop. Thank you each and every one of you for coming in, and for the ones who weren't able to join. We also are gonna be recording this event just so that a lot of students from different programs are aware of this great opportunity that we have here within the GSG program. And so this is a collaborative effort, one with the Rossier Student Organization Council, as well as with the Graduate Student Government. So the first thing is we do have a check-in. This is also a way to kind of get a head count of how many students are here. But we also are having an opportunity to raffle a gift card. So this is also a way for you to participate in that. So just go ahead and sign in. And for the ones who just joined in, I just went ahead and dropped the link in the chat. So whenever you get a chance, I'll go ahead and fill that form out. So the next part, oops, sorry, let me also go ahead and turn on my camera. Yes, so some of us are part of the Rossier Student Organization Council. And so something about the Rossier Student Organization Council is that we aim to support students' empowerment and agency by fostering community, belonging, transparency among all stakeholders, and its commitment to advancing equity, taking action, and challenging educational systems at Rossier and beyond. And so here are the three senators. One is Isabel Hernandez Alfaro. She's working on her master's in educational counseling and will be graduating next year. We also have our senator here in the meeting. So Salome, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. Thank you, Franklin. Hi, everyone. I'm Salome. I'm one of three GSG senators representing Rossier at the larger graduate student government table. And I'm really excited to serve in this role. I think all grants offered by GSG in some way or another, I accessed them and they helped me last year. And the professional development one is one that I'm particularly excited about everybody who has a need for it to be able to access it. So thank you, everyone, for coming.
Thank you, Salome. And yes, this is also important to note that this is just one of many grants that you are able to apply as a graduate student. And so for myself, my name is Franklin Pedro Andres. I'm also in working on my master's program in the educational counseling and one of three senators for Rossier Student Organization Council. But I also want to highlight the rest of the board from Rossier Student Organization. So there is Gladys, there's Adi, as well as as well as our other board members here. So these are the executive board that represents Rossier Student Org. And so definitely reach out to everyone. If you have any information, we're here to support you all through this process. So I do just wanted to, highlight all the board members here. Uh, I do also want to highlight our graduate student government. So the goal for the graduate student government, GSG, is their mission is to enhance the USC's graduate and professional student experience by serving as the face of the student body to accomplish the GSG's responsible for managing student resources efficiently, providing a voice for students' community, building a community that fosters interdisciplinary exchange, informing students about their rights, resources, and opportunities. And so I have the pleasure to introduce Farbad, who is the chair for Directors of Academic Affairs and who also oversees the Professional Development Grant. And so now I'll go ahead and pass it on to Farbad, who we are honored to have, who will show us the whole process of the professional development grant and any tips and tricks on how to ensure that you have a good chance of getting this grant. So I'll pass it on to you, Farbad, and I'll go ahead and stop sharing my screen.
Thank you so much, Franklin. Hello, everyone. I'm Farbad. I'm a graduate student at Viterbi in Biomedical Engineering Department. I'm honored to be here serving all the student bodies, GSC. So without further ado, let me just share my screen. GSC provides several funding opportunities for all grad students, which in the easiest one to access is professional development fund. It is one per semester. And the good thing is you can apply during fall semester. If you get awarded, it's once per year per student, which means if you get awarded during the fall semester, you're not eligible to receive it at the spring. But if you apply during the fall semester, for some reason you don't get awarded, you still have the chance to apply for the same thing during the spring, and that increases your odds because it's not like, oh, one person can get both time and the other person doesn't get it. So we try to make the process fair. Uh, this is our new platform that we are migrated to Engage SC. So if you guys type in Engage SC, engage.usc.edu/gsc/pdf, it's gonna land on this page. So here you can go over the program overview, the eligibility of different things. I think the majority of the things which is easier to access, either you're applying for a conference, maybe your department has partial money to cover you or they don't. So you can utilize the professional development fund. Maybe you want to get a access to a certain magazine or certain journal that it's not provided through USC. You can utilize this. Maybe you want to go to a skill-based workshop that is specific for the type of work that you are doing. You can utilize this fund, or simply like you need a subscription to become a member, for example, to Society of, I don't know, the Rossier, beyond Rossier students or whatever, like a organization that you want to be part of it, you can utilize this. So our cycle for this semester is opened already. We're closing it November 1st at 11:59 p.m. PST, Pacific Standard Time. So please submit everything before the deadline. I would advise people to just prevent any last minute changes. Don't wait till November 1st. Try to get in your application. But the good news is it doesn't matter if you already submitted or no. So all of them are going to be reviewed at once. So there is no basically rolling basis review. So here, when you click this link, it should direct you to this page. So if you don't see this page or says like you don't have access, you may need to join basically graduate students, which comes from here. You can click on this link and it brings you here. So you can basically log in through your GSG and just say join. You guys will automatically join in and enables access to this page. We continue with the basics. So as you can see, I think this is the review assignment for me because we are administrating this form, but yours is going to be start with first name. So I will just do the pre-filling. Your school comes here. So for example, for me, I'm part of the Viterbi. You select your school. This is the full name of your program. So for example, I am in biomedical engineering. Just type in medical engineering. I'm a PhD student. And then if there is, usually this should cover, but if there is something that is like you're doing like a dual degree or something like that, you can just comment on it. It's for us to just understand who accesses or applies more to our fund. And if there is needs to be we make some adjustments based on that. So it's for mostly backend. I'm a in-person student who selected this. I think one tricky part comes here, the way that you select the payments method. So we do both stipend and e-refund. E-refund is mostly recommended by graduates or student life office to us. That's easier for them. But again, each person might have a specific package of financial aid. If you're not sure which one makes more sense to you, I would advise to talk to financial aid office to make sure that it doesn't change your status or eligibility for any different scholarships that you are on or you are planning to get. Basically, we necessarily don't know about finance of each person, and we are not equipped to give specific recommendations on which one makes more sense. We basically this is coming from the financial aid office to us. If you have further question, I would recommend you guys to contact them first. That should help you guys more correctly than us. You're eligible to apply for both previous and future expenses. And you can also do for partially for expenses that you already have, plus expenses that you may, wanted to plan for future. For example, like you paid $100 for a subscription to a magazine or like as a fee to become a member of a society. You already paid that, but you're also planning to go to a conference and you're not sure you can pay for the registration or no. You can combine these two expenses and say like, oh, I paid this $100 for this space, but I wanted to do a registration for a future conference. And that's another like $400. I'm asking for these $500. Here is a brief statement of why you're asking or why you need this font. So try to be within this 250 words. I would only suggest this is for a person who's reviewing to make sure that you know why you're applying and it's just not like a random application. So if you put like, oh, like I just want to get this font and this is what I'm applying, that may come a little bit off for the reviewers. It's like, oh, I'm master student, I'm applying for a conference I'm going to present, or I'm planning to, use these opportunities at this conference. This is the registration fee. And there is no like fundings for me to apply. So you just state that, and then this becomes your state. You can ask up to 500. So basically, you can ask more than 500, but the awards are capped at 500. If I ask for anything below 450, that reduces your chance of getting the award. And the reason is we can't subsidize the award and we can't do like a one-by-one payments. And by us, I mean the student life office. So they prefer to have like a single value just sending to everybody. So just make sure that your combine of your expenses that you're showing is around $450. So anything lower than that significantly reduces your chance of getting the award. So that's one thing to be aware of. Because last year we had a lot of issues with the people putting random formats in terms of expenses they had or they were projecting, we started this new template, which you can see is a Word document. Then let's enlarge this. So you can change this based on the expenses and tailor it toward your own application, but please keep on within this format. For example, let's say I want to do a conference registration. So my first line becomes registration. I'm asking maybe for $250 of registration fee. Then here you said like, oh, this is like based on the website. You can put the link to the website that shows the registration page of that, or like has information about that. You say like, oh, for example, I have flights. I do another 100, and then for example, I wanted to stay at that Airbnb. So this becomes like a Airbnb. You have another $100 for that, and you're just describing what each of those are. The total becomes $450. Then if you already paid for that, you can just take a screenshot of these invoices and just do a placeholder for these. If you are having additional funding source, I would suggest to put that at the end of this document as well, to show like, oh, if there's a letter of from your department, like, oh, this person is going to this conference, they are expensing around like $2,000. We're only giving like $1,000 to that person. So there is a $1,000 out-of-pocket expenses for that to students. So we know that like you pay that $1,000 out of your pocket and hopefully you get $500 from professional level. If you don't adhere to this template, that also significantly reduces your acceptance rate. And when you are filling this, you can just go and save this as a PDF format. You upload that PDF format. The reason we're asking to be PDF format because there is a little bit of sometimes issue with the how the reviewers see these documents when they're reviewing. If it's Word or Excel or other type of things, there is an issue and like the formattings are changing, so it like brings confusion to the people. So I would kindly ask to fill out this, convert it to the PDF. I know it's a little bit, uh, you know, feel like two-step, but yeah, this is what we have as of now to work with, and hopefully we can improve it by the coming day. Then there is this most notorious GSG signature. So this needs to be signed by your academic advisor. So if you have a direct advisor or program advisor, it doesn't matter. You fill this part up and please select one of these two. So if you select both of them, these are basically two different statements. One is certifying that there is no alternative fund, and the other one is that there is no sufficient. If you click both of them, for the reviewers, it becomes very confusing. Is there alternative fund or there is no fund? And also that when the application is straightforward, that also reduces the chance of people getting accepted because they don't know, like, oh, do you have extra funding or no, and how much? So please only select one of these based on the situation that describes your condition better. So if there is no funding, it's clear. If there is a partial funding, you just say, oh, there is a partial funding, and you kind of reflect that in your expense sheet that you previously saw in the previous file. And just get the advisor signatures and name. And then when you upload both of these files, we try to implement this. Usually it accepts all files. We are trying to restrict it to the PDF. So please, please, please stay with the PDF format, because if there is something else that again significantly complicates the reviewing process for the reviewers, and then that also, like, as long as they can't figure out things, people tend to reject them. So like, oh, okay, don't understand this application, so they may reject it, and it becomes like back and forth, even though you have all the information, but just because you didn't stick to the guidelines of how to fill these forms, that reduces your chance. And after that, there is a submit button. So you just upload this. And again, this approval status shouldn't show up for you guys. It's just, again, in the back end of us. And after submission, this should show like, oh, this was like a successful submission. Yeah, basically that's the whole process. So it shouldn't take more than like a couple of minutes. So if you have things already planned, but yeah, within that, if there is any questions, I'm more than happy to answer those.
Yeah, I would say definitely have if you have any questions or concerns, feel free to unmute yourself. I'll go ahead and give that access. Let's see. But also, for Bob brought an important topic, and then some common mistakes in the past was that students were only utilizing only $200 for the grant, and as he stated, that it is best for you to utilize at least 450 or above, just because it'll make it easier. It'll just be, you'll have a higher chance of getting those funds. But I also want to ask you for about like what have been some of the common mistakes in the past where students who are lucky enough to get into the lottery and get their application reviewed, what are some past mistakes that students made that unfortunately were rejected?
So I think the first thing is all applications are reviewed, but some of them, which mostly get rejected, I think the two common thing is first that either that signature page is missing, or that has like that both there is an alternative font and there is no font. Because when you select both of them, it's confusing. So I do like the reviewer may not know like, is there a font or no? And then that becomes a little bit of like those few reviewers, agreement of like how much they can go through the expense sheet and figure out like where that is coming from, or did you count it in? So that's why we try to put it in like an expense template. So if you're kind of by mistake putting both of those, then if they can figure out through your expense sheet, that increases your odds. But again, like try to have only one of them selected. The second thing is like underutilization the fund. If you're coming for like, oh, I want to go to a conference and I'm only like asking for $100, it's hard to justify why that reviewer should give you $500 for a $100 expense. And the best way to do that, so if you are unsure, try to find expenses for the future that like, oh, there is other conferences I want to go. So that kind of shows that like, oh, you can basically, increases your odds of, utilizing the whole fund for that workshop. You can combine different things. So it's like, oh, I'm like expending $100 on a workshop, maybe $200 on a registration fee, and another $100 for subscription to become a member of this specific society, which enables me to access to this type of material uh, for my own personal development, and another like $100 for travel to different conferences. So it necessarily doesn't need to be one conference, but again, as long as it's clear and with the description and the amount that person who's reviewing can understand how you're utilizing that fund, you have a pretty decent chance to go through the lottery. And yeah, and the lottery format is like a randomized between admission rate of the PhD and master students. So for example, if the admission rate is like 50-50, we divide the number of funds or eligible money that we have to give these funds to a 50-50 portions. And half of it goes to the PhD students and half of them go to the master students. And that's becomes again a blind kind of lottery. If the number of applicants are less than the number of awards, everybody gets awarded. If they are more, then that becomes a which usually I haven't seen in past few years that the number become less than the number of application. But yeah, it's the rationale.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhat. There was also some questions. Jasmine asked, how many awards are generally given out, and how many people typically apply for the professional development grant?
So the total number of awards are around 300, and we usually get between 500 to 700.
Her next question was, is it okay if an academic advisor signs instead of a faculty member? Or what if
Yes.
a faculty member signs? Or can a faculty member sign?
So if they are, it's either some programs have program advisors, which we prefer them to be signed because they know mostly about the students and some more reliable things. If your program specifically doesn't have like a academic advisor, if you're working with a specific faculty, they can sign it. But if it becomes like a random faculty member or like, oh, I had a class with that person, then that's also a little bit reduces your chance. Then people may go try to kind of figure out who that person's signature is because there is a list of people with the signatures. People know those are in the system, but again, on the back end, even if you like win the lottery, if they check those people's things, they may kind of becomes also a complicated issue. But yeah, technically, as long as they're not adjunct faculty,
Mhm.
and they are aware of, the status of the students, they can sign the sheet.
Thank you. Jenny asks, when will the results for the grants be communicated to the applicants?
So we are hoping by end of the November the results to be announced. But again, part of it's beyond GSG. So we almost do everything, but then the announcement goes to the student life. And if you work with the student life, they are understaffed this year. So uh, things may take a little bit longer. But yeah, by mid-November, like end of November, very early or first week of December, you should have the results.
Maria asks, can a faculty signature be e-signature or does it have to be paper signed?
So this one is basically fillable PDF. So both works, unless if they just type their name, that becomes a little bit weird. because anybody can type a name. So we prefer to have like a actual signature or like the authenticated signature via Adobe. So, but also not all the students have access to the Adobe signature, based on what you learn. So if there is, yeah, if they just like type the name, that wouldn't consider it as a signature. If that makes sense. If it's authenticated signature via Adobe, that's fine. Which usually comes up like, oh, this is like a authenticated with Adobe, or there's a like paper signature. So both works.
Yeah, I know. I recall like another common mistakes when students apply is when they do submit like their like the invoice, they actually just create an Excel sheet. So kind of like Farbal, the way he showed it, yes, you have to submit that portion, but also you have to show proof. Like it can't just be like an itemized Excel or Word document. You have to show invoices, or you can even screenshot them. Correct me if I'm wrong, Farbal.
No,
Uh,
yeah,
yeah, those are also proof. So even if the event hasn't happened yet, uh, yeah, you could also provide like screenshots of the cost of like a conference to attend to.
yeah. I think it's a common sense, but yeah, to just reiterate what Franklin beautifully captured. So if you're showing that there is an expense, you should also show us where that expense is coming from. It's either in a screenshot, either an invoice, either an estimate. But if you just like put, oh, this is like a conference registration for $100, if there is no way for us to go and find that information, again, like imagine people are going through like a couple of hundreds of applications in terms of reviews, so they may not be patient enough to authenticate all information by themselves. So it's the applicant's kind of duty to provide those things and make it the easiest way as it's stated in the template. So people say like, oh, they're asking for this conference registration or this flight, but this is the basis either they spent or this is like the project that's based on, uh, a meaningful way.
Mhm. What we
Again,
all, oh, go ahead.
different, yeah. In terms of like the maximum registration, that's a conference-based things. We don't have a minimum and maximum. If it's $2,000, you can apply for $2,000, but the awards are capped at $500. So that's, I think, the judgment call by the people. I would say like you can ask for 2,000, that's totally fine, but you're not gonna get probably more than 500. But if you ask for less than $450, that also reduces again your chances of getting that.
Any more questions for anyone? Um, Definitely for the ones who are watching the recording, you're more than welcome to email us or message us through our social media platforms. If you have any questions, we're more than welcome to, follow with you just to ensure that, you have a good chance to getting, to fulfilling like the requirements for the GSG Professional Development Grant. Uh, but yes, but I do want to open up if anyone has last minute questions.
Hi, Jenny. Yeah. Yeah. If you get that, thanks for submitting, then yeah, your application is good to go.
Okay. So a student asked, when is the deadline for this form?
So it's November 1st by end of the day. But again, I would highly recommend to not submit before November 1st. Prevent any, technical issues or last minute things. But yeah, technically the form will close at November 1st, 11:59. But again, if you submit at the 1 minute after this, may not go through. So yeah, don't treat it as a homework. I treat my homeworks as a last minute submission. So for this one, try not to do practice that.
Okay. So Jasmine asked, uh, I would like to apply for funding for both the conference and the hotel costs. Is it uh, it is over 500? Should I just put 500 or the actual cost and amount I am requesting?
So I would suggest you to put the actual cost, but you can also do 500. It's again 500 and above doesn't matter. So, but I would just put more than 500, the actual cost. It just matches the amount that you are uh, spending.
Mm. Um, any last questions? Any last thoughts? Any concerns? Thank you, Ari. Okay. So for now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pause the recording. But I do want to give a huge shout out to Forbad. Once again, he is the director of academic affairs who will receive the professional development grant. And so, if you have any questions, feel free to email him, message us, the RSOC board, and we could also connect you. Some of us are also part of that committee, so definitely reach out to us. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and stop that recording.
Thank you so much, Franklin.